Good morning guys, it's Dom here and welcome to another video. I would like to introduce you to my daily driver, the Mk3 Golf 2 litre TDI GT Blue Motion technology. So this car, being my daily driver, takes me to and from work and does a lot more miles than the Mx5. If you follow me on Instagram, you'll know that I do post about this car and how good its MPG is. I have got some videos planned for it, so stay tuned if you want to see more. I look after it very well and I do an oil change every 10,000 miles, so that's what I'm going to do today, and I'm going to film it because, you know, why not? So this is quite a simple job. Volkswagen really thought about the serviceability of this car when designing it. I'm just going to use a torque set for the engine under tray, 32mm for the oil filter, a new sump plug which is a 19mm head socket, 2 axle stands, the trolley jack, then the new oil filter and the new oil. So it's advised for this car to take 5W30 in the UK. For the last 2 oil changes I've actually ran a Castrol Edge. The one before that I ran with Mobil, but the Mobil actually ran about 10 degrees hotter everywhere than the Castrol does. I'm just sticking with the Castrol. I actually think it works really well. Please leave a comment below if you know of a better oil. And then for the filter, we've got the Marl original filters. So these are OEM filters for Volkswagen, Skoda, Seat and Audi. They're really good. I've always used them. I can't see why I'd use anything else personally. And lastly, the sump plug. As you can see, it's actually got a captive washer on it, so you can't just change the washer on these. You could probably get away without changing this, but it costs £2.19, so not really worth risking it. So I've never found a central jacking point under the front of the Golf. If anyone knows of one, let me know in the comments below, because I always jack it up by each side first, which isn't the most efficient method of doing it, but it's because all under here is just all soft plastic. So I'm going to start by jacking up one of the sides. And because it's raining today, everything's really wet. It's getting excited. Oh, that's dark. So the mount that I've gone for, you really can't see it very well, but I think it's the subframe. There's one on either side and they look really solid, so I'm going to stick with those. Okay, so that's the right hand side up now. I've just put the trolley jack under. The handbook states to stand the car on its sill here. It's a double thickness sill, so that's where I'm going to place the jack on each side. And then same on the other side. Slowly does it. And that's both sides jacked up now. Now to take the engine under tray off. I've got a feeling I'm going to get dripped on. To start off with, I've got to take off these Torx head bolts which hold on this engine under tray. From memory, they vary in size between a T30 and a T25, I think, but it's quite damp under here at the moment. When you're loosening off these Torx screws, you want to be applying pressure straight up towards the screw because some of them are quite stiff. Obviously, being under the car, they get wet a lot and they can get rusty and seized up. Best way to do it is to use a drive like I've got here and push straight up on the head of the screw, because with a ratchet, you're applying the force at 90 degrees to the screw head, so there's a bigger chance of you rounding off the head of the screw. So here's a T30 at the back, and these were a little bit seized, so I have had to use a ratchet on these. Water just dropped in my mouth. Not so bad on these because the bolt is holding plastic onto metal, not plastic onto plastic, so it's much easier with the ratchet. So once those are all out on each side, you can see that the tray just wants to drop down, and it's held in with these little sliding tabs here. So if I push back on it, it should just fall out. Like that. So now the engine under tray is off, that's what it looks like. Very strange sort of squishy squares. I'm sure that's for NVH, noise, vibration and harshness. You can see that the screws have come out and are quite rusty, so when I was saying about some of them seizing, that's why. Also what was under there was this piece of plastic. Now I think this has come from this grille, so this grille originally had a bit of a hole in it, and that looks like one of the pieces off the original grille. So now we're under the car with the tray off. Here's the engine oil pan and here's the sump plug. So what I'm going to do now is put the 19mm over it and take it off. Last time I did this, I actually dropped my ratchet in the oil pan. Plastic error. This is normally the bit where I get absolutely caked in oil. You can see it starting to come out now. Okay, I spilt quite a bit, so it's sawdust time. So I've let the car sit now for about 10 minutes. You can see it's steadily just dripping out there. I think that's as much as I'm going to get out of it. So now I'm going to install the new drain plug. You're never ever going to get the full amount out of it because obviously it all sits in the lines and the galleys of the engine. So I'm conscious that I've probably got oil all over my face and my arms. Bit of a panic when it started flowing out and it wasn't going in the drain pan. Whoops. So I should have said make sure that the car is nice and warm before you drain all of the oil out, but make sure that it's not too hot, because if it's too hot you're going to burn yourself. That's why you should never go full throttle in your car after you've just started up, because the oil is cold and it's thicker and it can't get around the engine as easily. Okay, so just looking at the new drain plug on the left and the old one on the right, you can see that the sealing washer is actually like a captive washer, so you can't take the washer off, so you can't actually reuse this old drain plug. Otherwise, what I'd be doing is taking the washer off, putting a new washer on, and then reusing the plug. So just putting in the new plug now. Getting a bit difficult by hand, I'm going to swap to the ratchet. And I'm going to torque up to 30 Newton meters or 22 foot-pounds. So now I'm going to do the oil filter, so I'm going to take off this engine cover here, which is used for MVH purposes. It just pulls straight off. There we go. And there's the lovely common rail. So the filter, if you can see it, is just down there. That's the 32mm hex on the top of it. Very difficult to do with one hand. Oh, my phone's going. Hello? Hiya. Yeah, you okay? Good. So I've actually also taken this bracket off just to give me a bit more room, and then loosened these two screws here to make sure that this hose can come this way a bit. So I've got loads of room to get the filter out. And there she comes, perfectly designed to fit through that tiny gap there. Whoa, dripping a bit. I'm spilling loads of oil today. I do not know what is wrong with me. I do know it's because I'm trying to film it at the same time. Try and work on your car with one hand. Very, very difficult. So next up we've got the mucky bit. We're going to swap the filters over and put the new O-rings on as well. I seem to remember these seals were quite difficult to get on and off. So I'm going to use a tiny little flathead to get these little O-rings off because they're very, very tight. So there's actually 3 O-rings, there's a big one on the bottom, and that's got a little keyway to help you know which way it goes on. Luckily the oil helps them slide over a bit, which is useful. You want to make sure that they're seated nicely so that they're not twisted. Then we've got the 2 new ones on the top. The big one goes on first, then the small one. So there we go, that's all the new rings on, and now I'm going to put the filter on. You can see this filter is actually directional and it says top just there. So these are just an interference fit and they clip into place into the filter housing. So once you feel a good click on there, that means it's in. And so now we're going to install the filter back in, slot it in the same way that it came out. There we go, and now torque it up. So the torque on this filler cap is 20 Newton meters, but my 1/2-inch torque wrench doesn't actually go to 20 Newton meters. The lowest it does is 28. So I could either tighten this by hand or I could over tighten it slightly. Rule of thumb, you should never over tighten anything, but in this instance I'm going to be rather safe and sorry and I'm going to do it to 28. Kill me in the comments if you want. A torque wrench is normally plus or minus 4% anyways. And there we go. So now I'm just going to put these screws back in, put this bracket back on, and then we'll start filling it with oil. Castrol kindly supply this little kit which has got a tiny little cardboard funnel in it and what I think is a wipe to check your dipstick with. So taking the oil filler cap off, I'm going to put it up here. I watched a video the other day actually, some lady was trying to fill her car up through the dipstick tube. Ta-da! I'm pretty sure that's single use only. So I'm going to put the first 4 litres in and then check it. Why do these things always have caps on? Probably to stop the oil coming out, Dom. That's a really great question. Right, don't spill any. Ooh, looks so nice. It's horrible stuff really, it just looks nice. Remember that you can always overfill a car and then you have to take that plug out again, which is a right pain. So it's always better to underfill than overfill initially. Much easier to put it back in than it is to take it out. Now I'm going to check the dipstick. Ah, there's also some little plastic gloves in the kit. Bit late for that now. Okay, so I'm happy with that. I've added enough oil. I've checked it on the dipstick, even though the car's at a bit of an uneven level. I'll check it again when it's back level. I also added some from the 1 litre bottle. So I'm now going to put the oil filler cap back on, put the engine cover on, and then put the tray on underneath. Okay, so I'm actually going to do the last oil level check when the car's level again, and once the oil's a bit warmed up. Okay, so the under tray slotted in, just like it did when it came out. You've got to watch these tabs to make sure that they're all engaged properly, and these little tabs sit inside that hole there on each side. Now to lower the car back down, and we're pretty much done. Jobs are good in. The last thing to do is just run your engine for a couple of minutes and then check the oil once it's level. So you can see on mine that it's exactly halfway between the empty and full mark, so that's pretty good. So the car is running fine now, it feels absolutely normal. everything was a bit damp today, and because I was under the car, I'm a bit damp as well and a bit mucky, but hey ho. Hope you enjoyed the video. Lots more to come on the channel with this and the MX5. Please make sure you like this video, give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon if you want to be notified of when I upload a new video. Hope to see you soon. Cheers.